Hello, hello. Can anybody hear me? Can anybody hear me? Hello. Okay, so I'm not sure if my mic. Okay, here I go. Can everybody hear me? Can DHH2121, can you hear me? Just write in the chat if you can hear me or not. So this way I know if I'm being heard or not. Okay, thank you, thank you. Okay. So if I see that there's a few people here watching, so hello to whoever is watching. If you guys want to come in, you can. If you don't feel comfortable, then that's perfectly fine. So I'll just talk and maybe people will come in, maybe they won't. This is my first live stream, so bear with me, guys, with the technical difficulties, okay? So I'm still trying to figure things out. And I mean, I guess I'll give it a few minutes of me just like BSing because I don't know exactly where to begin. I do have a couple of things to speak about, but I don't think I'm going to be on here for too long. Okay. Um, but I did want to have like a type of Q&A. If anybody wanted to ask me any questions in the chat, then you can. But if you don't feel comfortable, then whatchamacallit. Hey, Debauchery. How are you? Okay, so let's see. I did have earlier, I had somebody come to my comment section and they asked me about, and I'll start the video off with this because I really didn't know about this story until, the person actually left me a comment about it. And it's this girl named Crystal Nieves. So 19-year-old girl who was shot dead at a Burger King. She was like an employee. And supposedly the guy robbed her. So he stuck her up. She gave him, I think she had like I guess she got $100 out of the cash, out of the register or something. I'm not exactly sure. But basically she gave him the money that she had available and he still shot her in the head anyway. Now, the person who asked me this question, whoever this person was, I'm not, hey, Caesar, how are you? So basically, the person who asked me this question did point out the race of the person who did it, right? Now, fair enough, the argument is going to be that, certain things like this, these types of aggressions happen to Latin people in the, in these communities, yada, yada, yada. But then my question in return is, do you have that same type of energy, for example, when that boxer guy killed his Puerto Rican wife and he was a Puerto Rican boxer? And I spoke about that months ago. Okay. So my thing is, do people care about the girl, these young women that are getting killed in this situation with this guy that shot the girl in the Burger King or whatever? Do they care about the girl herself, or do they only care because the person who did it happened to be a black guy? So my question is getting thrown back at these people that are asking these types of questions. Do you care about the women in our community, or do you only care when it suits your narratives? All right, because as far as I know, there's stuff happening to Latin women in Latin America all the time. Hence this whole femicide stuff that's going on over there, right? So I wonder if those very same guys that are talking about this guy who did this at the Burger King, do they have that very same energy for the women that are getting killed in Latin America by their husbands, by their boyfriends, and nobody seems to give a damn? So inquiring minds want to know about that. Or on the other end, if by chance something happens to a Latin woman and the person that does it, the perpetrator happens to be a white man, and then there's an uproar about that. Hey, Golden Goddess. So, I do throw the question back because I see the bias. I see the bias with some of these content creators. I do my best to not be biased, but regardless of whatever it is that I do, I'm still painted as someone who's biased anyway. And I've been called everything under the sun on here. So it just is what it is. But hopefully some of these content creators, if they're going to talk about this, can answer that question. Do you really care about Latin women and our well-being? Or do you only care when the perpetrator that does these things is black or white or orange or purple? But before I begin, now that there's a couple of people in the chat, do you guys have any questions for me? Anything? Like, is there anything you want me to talk about? Is there anything you guys want me to clear up about? And I think since I see both Caesar and Golden Goddess in here, maybe I'll kind of like get in like a little bit into the colorism stuff, because I know I did that video. And there's just some things that I want to clear up about that video that I did, because that video got a lot of views, okay? And that surprised the shit out of me. Hey, yes, shout out to the Latinos, that's right. And shout out to all the mixed people, yes. And to anybody who's watching, I have no biases on here. Anybody and everybody is welcome to my channel. Regardless of what shade you are, whatever you are, everybody's welcome over here. So I did want to talk about like the stuff with the colorism stuff. And I think that maybe some of the things that I said in that video might have come across as me basically trying to silence, or maybe what it was that I was saying was trying to imply that I think that people, not just on this platform, just in general, who talk about their experiences as lighter skinned folks within these communities, that I'm trying to silence, or I'm preferring for people to silence themselves, and I'm not. Okay. The thing that I want to make as perfectly clear as I possibly can is that I think that there needs to be a lot of healing done. And my question in that video is like, okay, we can talk about these things, but what do we do moving forward with regards to healing? And maybe people should do certain content with healing. I have no idea, maybe different meditation techniques, maybe ways to self-heal, because I know that not everybody can afford therapy out there, because one of the things that everybody says is, well, you got to go to therapy, you got to do this and you got to do that. And, there's plenty of people out there that can't do that, So much stuff: Latina femicide, the Burger King murder, domestic violence, homelessness, closing Rikers, New Yorican hate. Yeah, there's a lot. Yeah. The New Yorican hate on here is real. The bias is freaking incredible on here, the bias. And don't get me wrong, I know that there's a few, Puerto Ricans from New York on here that do watch me, and sometimes they'll call out the bias, but sometimes I think that we tend to call out our own bullshit more than anybody else does, right? Even though I think a lot of other Latin people may not see that, I think that we call it out more than anybody else. Okay, before I thought, let me just read what Golden Goddess wrote. Do you think it's only a few that are operating from hate and trauma, but not the majority? operating from hate. That the light-skinned people that are speaking with regards to the experiences, do I think it's the majority of them that are speaking from, but not the majority? I want to make sure I got your question right before I answer it. So yeah. So what was I saying again? So yeah, I think that before so this way you can answer me, Golden Goddess. I'm gonna just finish up what I was talking about. So basically, yeah, we do get a lot of hate. I do understand it. Don't get me wrong. I know that we're ghetto. Like, I know. The funniest thing, I'm going to be bouncing all over the place like I do in my videos. The funniest thing is, right, is that people are always, now there's this thing of comparing the Puerto Ricans from New York and the Puerto Ricans from Florida, as if the majority of Puerto Ricans from Florida didn't freaking come from New York. What is that about? Like, what is that about? Like, what is this? They act like the majority of Puerto Ricans that live in Florida are not from New York, and a ton of them are from New York. So I find that really hilarious. I don't know what that's about, but you were saying it was all negative in the past video. Was I saying that the experiences that the light-skinned people were talking about were negative experiences, Golden Goddess? I take it that when people talk about like their experiences on here, I'm not sure. I take it as mostly personal experiences. Hey, Wanako. So to me, that's how I take people's, what it is that they speak about on their platform. And again, you see, the bad thing about this is that I haven't been keeping up. I've said this before, and I'll say it again. I haven't been keeping up with the whole sphere. And I know that there's so many new people on here. I haven't been keeping up with people's stuff like that. So it's only things that I've heard here and there from people, which I probably shouldn't be judging. It's not that I'm necessarily judging a whole. I guess what I'm trying to say is that I don't want us to become like the very people that we complain about. That's the main thing that I was saying in that video. So I hope that that's, I'm coming from a good place. The intentions are good. So I hope that people are taking it in a good way. And again, I'm not trying to silence people, but at the very same time, it's like, okay, when does the healing begin to, and again, this applies to anybody that's talking about certain things. Okay. So yeah. And now that I see you're in here, Wanako, I can ask you this if you have any type of questions or anything with regards to Puerto Ricans from New York, any comments you want to make about that. Yes, I did speak about that already. Actually, I spoke about that in the very beginning. And basically what I said, see, I don't want to keep repeating myself, but basically Golden Goddess, I do mean well, I'm not the most vocal person on here. I'm not going to say that I always get it right in every video. I don't really join streams like that. I'm a very, very introverted person. I'm a very shy person too. This right now, people may not know. I am so incredibly nervous. You have no idea. But I'm giving it a shot. I'm trying. Okay, I'm trying for the life of me. I'm trying. And like I said, this is just my first trial. I'm going to see how this goes. I don't know if I'm going to do it. And so, oh my God, just to get to do this today was such a pain. So, hey, Logic's Finest, how are you? Passing through to show support. Did you get the info I sent you? I have been doing Duolingo. I have been doing that, actually. I didn't want to say it, but I have been doing that. So, shh. But I have. And it does work. It's going to freaking take me forever because I'm old, but I am doing it. And I've been doing it every single day so far. So, yes, LOL Duolingo. I got to try something. Shoot, I tried everything else and I suck. What am I going to do? I got to try something. I'm just here to hang out. I hope you do this more often. I'll try. But just to even get this, like I have my sister here and she's helping with the kids. My husband is with the baby right now. Yeah, it's my first stream. It's my first stream. It may not be all, bells and whistles, and I don't know how to do anything yet. And I'm like, oh man, can anybody hear me? I don't want to show myself on this freaking camera here. So, but yeah, now I'm trying to go back to what the hell was that? Does anybody remember what I was talking about? Or should I just go into? Does anybody have any other questions for me before I go into? Because I did like take notes. I took some notes of stuff to talk about. But I'm just wondering if anybody has any questions for me. You guys want to know anything about me or anything about my content or anything about anything? No. Fluent City is what I use. They offer online classes now. I went in person to become fluent. Children's books work. They learn. Oh, okay. I gotta try that. Please show us your Latino glow. No, right now it's a full-blown oily face. No thanks. It was a long day, and this glow this is too glowy right now. This is too, no thanks. Not today. Another time I will. I guess the next time I do a stream, I'll show myself. I couldn't even get a freaking, what you call it? Where's the bells and whistles? I don't know, not here. Ring, ring, ring. There you go. The bells and whistles. Oh my goodness. Oh, you know what I want to ask the chat? I want to ask the chat because there's people out there that say this, okay? And the thing is that I don't know if the chat is going to know the answer to this. Are Puerto Ricans and Dominicans the same? I want to see if anybody in the chat gives me an answer, whether it's a yes or no answer. Do you guys think Puerto Ricans and Dominicans are the same? I mean, everybody, if we're talking about like the white majority, they think all of us are Mexicans, right? But I'm just curious if people who are experienced with both Puerto Ricans and Dominicans, if you guys think that we're the same. I don't know if anybody has an answer to that. Yes, no? All I'm going to say is Puerto Ricans and Dominicans I agree. I think that we're similar, but I definitely don't think that we're the same. And sometimes I feel like when we say that we're the same, in a way, I kind of feel like it's a little, I don't know if I want to use disrespectful, because I know that we have similar histories, but we don't have the same histories. You know what I'm saying? So we have similarities, but that doesn't mean that we're the same either. You know what I mean? Not the same, but similar. Exactly. That's how I feel. My Madrina and I talk about this a lot. There's plenty of hypocrisy among Spanish people in regard to the Spanish black thing. That is so true. Yep. Is that something that you would want me to get into, Logic's Finest? The hypocrisy among Spanish people in regard to the Spanish black thing. I know. No, but there was a lot of interaction between the islands historically. Sure, but there's also a lot of interaction between Dominicans and Haitians. But if you tell them that they're the same, they're going to flip their crap on you, right? You see, so I'm going to kind of use that as an example for that. But yes, you're right. You're actually, Ricans lean more to Spanish. Dominicans are more mixed. I think both of us are mixed, but yeah, I think what you're saying is that usually we're more of like the white leaning, the Spanish leaning with regards to DNA. Yeah, that is very true. But we still are mixed. So I'm from NYC, so we both know the weight of the yes, Logic's Finest, yes. And sometimes it does get a little ridiculous, but sometimes I want to kind of come from both places when it comes to how we deal with each other, right? Because sometimes I feel like on the internet, there's some people that want to make it seem as though, we're one big happy family and that we always get along, right? And it's not that we don't get along, because we do, because as you know, being from New York City itself, there's a bunch of Puerto Rican and Dominican mixes in New York City. So that's very common. It's very common to see that. I saw that my whole life. but at the very same time to act like there's not little beefs and there's not little things that we have against each other, you know, especially back in the day. It was I think it's definitely gotten a whole lot better. And I think the younger generations, whatchamacallit, yeah, Ricans have more Taino blood on average. Yeah, it sounds like it. It does sound like it. Let's see, the friction between Ricans and Dominicans and NYC. Yeah. There is a friction there. I do think that it has. Yeah, yes, DHH2121. Yes, the drama is eternal. Yeah, it is, and I do think the drama is stupid. Don't get me wrong, but at the same time, I understand why there's like the tension between us, because back in the day, I used to hear stories about Puerto Ricans that used to not be so nice to Dominicans. And this was way back in the day when I was a little girl. I used to hear about stuff. I never knew not one Puerto Rican personally who's done this. But at the same time, I'm not going to discredit the experiences of people that would talk about things that they went through with Puerto Ricans either. So, I know that those things, I'm sure that those things did happen, and the same thing that we have issues with other racial groups too, In New York, it used to be only Ricans, but nowadays all different Latinos live there. Yeah, and it's been like that for a long time now. I mean, it hasn't been majority Puerto Rican for I think since maybe the 80s. I would say like the 80s was when things changed, really. So, and that's just how it is. I think things like that are always going to change, Now the majority of Latins that live in New York City, I think, are Dominicans, but I think that might be changing too now. If you want to cover the hypocrisy of the Spanish-Black dynamic among Spanish people, you will be hated if you approach it honestly. You know what the thing is that there's so many layers to that, because I think if you're speaking in regards to let's say Puerto Rican and Black, right? So I'm going to keep it specific to different groups, and I say that because I think that there's so many things that you have to factor in when the groups migrated here, how many generations they were living here, and what their interactions were like, right? So I think in the earlier times when Puerto Ricans first migrated here, they actually, like stories from my parents, for example, when it came to what they went through, they used to get bullied by both white and Black. They used to get into fights with both white and Black people, physical fights, right? So they didn't fit in any side. So they just had their own, right? But in the end, because of the certain communities that most of us lived in, which were poorer, predominantly Black communities, we ended up growing up around Black Americans and associating ourselves more with Black Americans in certain parts of New York City. But that also doesn't take away the fact that there's plenty of us that did the opposite and associated with white people. You really don't hear about that on the internet too much, Let's see. WT says, also, it depends on what part of PR you're talking about. Many in Louisa and the surrounding areas have a more Negro phenotype. But yeah, there's different parts, right? There's different parts of Puerto Rico that have, the different racial admixtures. Yeah. What dynamic? Yes, please hit the like. If you don't want to hit it, that's fine. Again, this is just my first stream. This is just me, whatchamacallit. That's not true. NYC has been very mixed by Spanish background since the late 1970s. Do the research, not by just what you see in person. Mixed by Spanish background since the late. Wait a minute, Logic. Are you talking about what I'm speaking about with regards to Puerto Ricans? I just want to clarify if what you're saying, Logic's finest. I know that there was other Latins other than Puerto Ricans, but at that time, back in the day, it was majority Puerto Ricans, is what I'm saying. And it doesn't mean that there wasn't any other Latin groups at all. I'm just saying that the majority at that time were Puerto Ricans in New York City. So hopefully that made sense. Let's see. Does anybody have any other questions? Oh, I know what it was that I have written down here that I almost forgot about. And it's basically the stuff on the Asian hate crime stuff. And this is kind of a response to Miranda. So shout out to Miranda. Sorry, Miranda. I wish I would have shouted you out in the beginning of the video. I'm so sorry about that. I'm not good at this. Promise I get better if I keep doing them. But yeah, I did want to address what it was that I was saying in like your comment section, and when I was talking about my comment is about last time. I'm sorry, chat. Oh, okay, no problem. Logic's finest. So yeah, basically, what I had said in Miranda's comment had to do with the hate against Asians and basically the races of people who were causing the crimes, right? So, and within the comment, I had written that up until 2019, the majority of people causing these crimes against Asians were perpetrated by white people. And at 2019, which I didn't clarify in my comment, I don't think, and this is probably why my comment might have came across a little bit confusing, and I want to clarify it now, is that from 2019 until now, the demographics of that have changed. So now it's majority, unfortunately, for what we see from the statistics that show it's Black Americans that are causing these crimes, these hate crimes towards Asians. Now, people can have different types of arguments for that, around COVID time, but according to his stats, the crimes actually started before COVID. So maybe, people can blame it on certain hateful rhetoric that was being spewed at the time against Asians, more specifically Chinese people. Yeah, so I kind of wanted to clear that up a little bit. And my husband, actually, he's really good at all of this. So if anybody wants me to do a video on that, wants me to go more in depth, or I'll have my husband go more in depth on that with that stuff, because he knows a good amount about politics, Chinese politics, all of that stuff. So if you want me to talk about that in a video at some time, I can, if you like. But then that, the only reason why I don't really talk about things like that too much is because that's not what my channel is about. Yeah, thanks for stopping by, Logic's finest. Good to see you too. All right. People voted for Biden and he helped the Asians instead. Yeah, he kind of, it's like he sort of did, but at the same time, it's like, I don't know if the bill is really necessarily scaring anybody out of doing anything either, So WT, it even depends on what areas in the U.S. you're referring to. In the late 1960s and 70s, Puerto Rican young lords and Black Panther Party worked together at times in New York City. Yes, and I have spoken about that in the past. In past videos, I know that I brought stuff like that up too. Yeah, that's very true. Yep. There's a whole lot more with regards to Puerto Ricans and Black Americans working together than you may hear about on social media. There's a huge history of that, even to this day. And now, because there's different Latin groups that are the majority, that's going to change too. So. And I think now that you mentioned that, WT, hey, Blasian King, how are you? Now that you mentioned that, like that whole unity thing, I do kind of want to bring up the whole Latin unity thing, because I used to be real pro Latin unity on here. And I was always specifying the Latin people here in the States. And honestly, the one thing that YouTube has taught me is that I don't foresee that. I think my mind is really changing on that, because we're always kind of talking about how we're uniting with other groups, which I have no problems with. I have no problems with that at all. The only thing I ever say is that how are we going to unite with other groups if we can't even unite with each other? How we have freaking Puerto Ricans that people trying to divide Puerto Ricans by, the ones on the island, the ones that live in Florida, the ones that live in New York. It's like so stupid, like that doesn't even make any sense to me. So if we're going to do that, imagine you got to apply that to all these other Latin groups too. So, I mean, does that even make any sense? I don't know. Also, Black Americans and Puerto Ricans, although not a historical Black American, Obama selected Sotomayor for. Yes, yep, yep. And I thought about doing a video on her too, because I feel like she's really underrated. People don't really talk about her too much. Um, but yeah, yeah, he did. He did pick her. He did. That gave me a lot of pride too at that time when he chose her. Regardless of what people may think of her, I did have a lot. I was like, oh shit, finally, you know. I thought that was really cool. And look at how long it took, you know. And we've been here for such a long time. So I'm glad you're doing good, Blasian King. I'm glad you're doing good. Uh, yeah, I don't know. I'm just. Oh, okay. Ski mask. This is the person that actually asked me the question about the girl that was killed. PRs from the island have every right to distance themselves from New Yorkers. There's no reason why they shouldn't. I guess it is what it is. If that's what you want to do, like, where are they going to unite? Because they end up coming to New York anyway, or they end up going to Florida. So they can try to distance themselves as much as they want to, but the minute that they come to New York, a couple of generations, then they're going to be New Yorkers too. Then what? Are they going to distance themselves from their own children? Ski mask? No, no answer. Yeah, so after being here for a few generations, if you're Puerto Rican and you move to New York, then your children are going to become exactly what you don't want them to become, a New Yorican. What's the point? Yeah. Some people have really strange logic on here. And then my question to you, Ski Mask, is what's the difference? So you're talking about New Yorkers. How about Dominicans that live in New York City that were born and raised there compared to the Dominicans that live in DR? Should they divide themselves too? They go to Florida for the most part, but yeah, that's a problem. And you have your chat on slow mode. I do have my chat on slow mode. I do. I do. Well, actually, again, like I said before, a lot of Puerto Ricans that are from New York, a lot of New Yorkers, my family is a very good example of that. They actually moved to Florida also. So there's plenty of New Yorkers that live in Florida. My whole entire mother's side of the family, they all live in Florida. All from New York. They all have this thick New York accent the way I do, and they all live in Florida. Yep. So. But yeah, I am very curious as to, what's the differentiation between us and other languages. Now, I do hear, like, I have heard stuff about, like, the Mexicans, like the Chicanos, right? Or whatever, and how the Mexicans from Mexico want to distance themselves from the Chicanos and all of that stuff. I've heard a lot of stuff like that too. I guess I hear that as much as I hear the whole New Yorican spiel. Like, I hear the same thing, that we're so ghetto and we're so trash and this and that. And then they talk about hip hop and as if that's the cause as to why, we are the way we are and all that. Does anyone know how good the Puerto Rican and Cuban communities get along in Florida? My family knows Cubans in Florida. They seem to get along perfectly fine. You want to go to NYC one day? It's cool. It's changed a lot. So it's a whole lot better than it was back in the day. So, but you know what? I take that back because it is kind of changing. It is kind of changing. So it's weird because it got to a point where it got really good, and now I would say within the past few years, it's kind of with the crime that's going on, it's sort of reverting back to like your crack era type days, unfortunately. So, but it's still a great place to visit. I recommend everybody to go to New York City. Go to different boroughs. Go check out and see what they're like. Go check it out. Go check it out. Yeah. But yeah, back to WT. Yeah, as far as like from my knowledge, the Puerto Ricans and Cuban type of dynamic over there in Florida seems to be fine. Um, I never heard of any strifes between them over there. My family has never said anything about the Cubans that they know over there or anything like that. But for the most part, since my family moved over there such a long time ago, most of the people that they know are other white Americans. So and other Puerto Ricans from New York that just so happen to be from New York. So there's that too. There's that too. Dominicans in New York don't bend to AAs the way New York. Actually, Ski Mask, I've heard the opposite on here. I've heard the opposite when it comes to that. I've heard a lot of, especially the younger Dominican generations, the ones that are here now that are like third generation and stuff, that people are starting to have the very same complaints about them that they have about us. They're losing the language, they're losing the culture. So I don't know how true that is. Tell me I'm wrong. I mean, I guess I'm telling you that you're wrong. I don't know. I'm not here to argue with you. But from what I hear, I've heard people complain about that too. So, yeah. Then watch me roll. Spell check. Good. I also have relatives in Florida. Oh yeah, what part of Florida do you have relatives? You don't have to tell me. Florida's so big. So Florida is pretty big. Like my family doesn't live in the typical parts of, well, actually that's not true because I hear people talk about Tampa or stuff. Well, my family lives like near Tampa and stuff like that. So they don't live like in Miami or anything like that. Orlando or Miami or anything like that. Yeah, but as far as like people losing their culture, Ski Mask, that happens with all groups of people. Once they're here for a certain amount of generations, a lot of them lose their culture. And for the people that can hold on to it, that's great. But I also think times have changed. So view on your last video page. Okay, WT, that's fine. But yeah, Ski Mask, I think that especially nowadays, this country has gotten so much better at basically trying to incorporate the Spanish language and basically making Latin people feel more comfortable here with speaking the language freely, as opposed to the way things were back in the day. So times have changed. So it would be easier, I would say, from now on for people to still hold on to their culture than they did at one time. People migrating at different times, that really changes the dynamic of things. And it really, I think that people really don't pay attention to that as much. Let's see. I have relatives in Florida, Chicago, New York. Cool. Very cool, Blasian King. No other Latinos, even if they're Americanized, do what New Yorkers do. AAs did a number of that. That's actually not true. There's plenty of ghetto-ass Dominicans in New York City. I don't want to hear it. I grew up around a bunch of them. It is what it is. There's plenty of ghetto Dominicans. They grew up in the same environment and in the same hood areas. They're just as ghetto. They may speak Spanish a little bit better, but that's about it. So if that's what you want to attribute to not bending to the will of Black Americans, then I don't know. And everything is kind of blamed on Black Americans, as if Latin people don't live around white Americans. And that's not true either. Let's see. Sounds like you have a dislike of DHH2121. Yes, no, what Ski Mask is going to say is that he doesn't have a problem with Puerto Ricans. He has a problem with New Yorkers. That's what Ski Mask is going to say. So they're gonna draw. He's gonna draw a line in the sand that he won't draw for the other Latin groups. They'll just draw for us. It is what it is. That's the YouTube rhetoric on here. That's their logic. You can't take it too seriously. It's actually really hilarious when you think about it. It's really hilarious. Oh God, as if there isn't ghetto white people that live in the hood. It's so funny. Hey, Sundown, how are you? Oh, let's see. Move. Okay. Lies. New Yorkers that I know are all proud to be Puerto Ricans. Um, that's sort of true. DHH2121, but you'd be surprised. Um, I don't think I've ever said this in a video, but I'm glad that you brought that up because it reminds me of something that I've experienced myself. There's a lot of Puerto Ricans from New York that are like, I would say, like in the hipster type scene, the ones that don't hang out, they may be from the hood, but they don't necessarily hang out in the hood. Hint, hint, I was kind of one of those people, except for this part. And I've met a few, at least 2 or 3 Puerto Ricans from New York who never liked to tell people that they were Puerto Rican because of the negative associations, the negative stigmas that are associated with New Yorkers. So I have met a few people, unfortunately, that wanted to, even as Puerto Ricans themselves, wanted to distance themselves from Puerto Ricans. So PRs are proud of all their makeup. I think it depends on who. Yeah, that is true. It does depend on who. It does. Hope all is well. Same Sundown. I hope that you enjoyed your holidays. I hope that you had a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. Same thing goes for everybody else in the chat. I'm sorry I didn't say that. But yeah, there are unfortunately Puerto Ricans that because of all of the negative things that we have associated with us, there were a few that I met that wanted to distance themselves to that point. And then it wouldn't be that they would deny that they were Puerto Rican, but like people would have to probe and ask, like, oh, where are you from? And you know what I mean? And they would do it because of a lack of pride or because of a sense of shame. I tend to do things like that for different reasons. Because let me tell you what people do. Let me tell you what Latin people do. Okay, this is what, if anybody that's not Latin, okay, this is what foreign Latin people do to us. And I'm going to say that this would apply to all Latin people who are Americanized, but I think it especially applies to New Yorkers, right? So what they do, right? People don't disrupt your neighborhood and keep your language and culture, destroy New Yorkers. Ski mask, actually, that's not true. You can tell that to my parents who were told that they couldn't speak Spanish in school by their white teachers. How is that not disrupting their community and their identity? You can tell that to my parents if you want to. So yeah, this is what some Latin people do, okay? These are like foreign Latin people. So they'll be like, where are you from? And they do this on purpose, right? And they want to see what your reaction is going to be. And the reason why they're asking you this is because if you reply by saying that you're Puerto Rican, they're going to say, you're not Puerto Rican. You were born here. You're American. Blah, 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 blah. So what I do is I say that I'm American, which is the truth. And I have no problem with calling myself an American because it's very true. I was born and raised here. What else am I going to say, right? So usually when they ask me that question, because I know where they're going with it, especially the younger Latin people that think they could try to play me out, right? So they'll ask me that, I'll be like, I'm American. And they'll be like, where are your parents from? They're American too. Yeah, but where are they from originally? Brooklyn? Where are you from originally? Brooklyn? Where's your... So I tend to do that until they go down the line of like, well, where are your grandparents from? And I'm like, oh, okay, yeah, my grandparents were from Puerto Rico and Mexico. And then they kind of give me that look, well, why didn't you say that you were Puerto Rican and Mexican? Well, I mean, I know where my ancestry is from, but I was born and raised here. Because then if I say I'm Puerto Rican, then you're going to be, well, I want to test your Spanish. I want to test your knowledge. I want to test. Yeah, you can kiss my ass is what you can do. Let's see. Monaco, Burger King shooting, Asian woman getting pushed. New York sucks. Yeah, it is kind of going back, unfortunately. Like I said before, there is a lot of stuff going on in New York City now. So AA do it to you way more than whites do. Tell me where I'm lying. I already told you where you're lying. I mean, where are white people doing to that girl in Harlem the way AA did? So yeah, now you're gonna talk about the violence and my my question to you is going to be, do you have that same type of energy when Latin men are killing Latin women like that? Or the femicide that's going on in Puerto Rico, do you have that same type of energy for the men that are in Puerto Rico that are killing these women left and right and beating their wives and their girlfriends left and right? Ski mask? Do you live in New York? I don't live in New York City. Do you live in New York, Wanako? Do you live in the Bronx or in Brooklyn? Hmm. Mm-mm-mm. What I will say is, as far as you're talking, ski mask is bringing up lots of stuff when it comes to violent crimes, right? And the thing is of course, it's important to address the violent crimes that happen to Latin people. Where are, tell me, you can't tell me. I know, and you're talking about the, wait. Where are they doing what? Ski mask. Where, what you're talking about, shooting us in the face? Is that what you're talking about? And you keep going back to white people as opposed to answering the question that I asked you, which was, do you have the same energy for when Latin people, like these Latin men in Latin America, where they're killing these Latin women and all the femicide that's going on over there, do you have that same energy for them? I'm not talking about white people right now. No. So if we're going to talk about white people and violent crimes, no, white people really aren't getting violent with us like that. But at the same time, we can't lie and act like it's not our own that's doing it to us. Basically, that is doing it to our own more than anybody else. And where am I lying with that? No, thankfully, never been to the city, but for all the news, I will never go there. And that's fine. I think that everybody should go to New York at least once just to check it out, just to see. There's a lot of nice things in New York. So even though there's a lots of, crime and other bull crap or whatever, there's a lot of good things in New York. There's a lot of good things to see. There's a lot of great museums. I miss going to museums. There's a lot of great plays and whatnot. Hello, Michael Ruiz. Yeah, so I think that there's a lot of great things in New York City. So you can't always just focus on the bad because everything's got bad, right? I'm afraid to go to Latin America from the stuff that I hear in Latin America. I actually read that Latin America is the most dangerous place in the world for women to be. So that scares me for going to just to go check out Latin America. Doesn't mean that I'm never going to go there, because of course I will. But, yeah. So, we can't always base everything just on, the negative all the time, right? Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, it is true. It is true, Hence the reason why I did the video talking about that. You got to embrace your ghetto. You got to embrace certain parts of it. If you grew up in a certain environment and you overcame that, and certain things that you grew up around, you have to embrace that part. What did Trump call PR? He wanted to trade it with Denmark for green. Yeah. Yep. Trump had some pretty heinous things to say about PR. And then remember the paper towel incident? Oh my God. Freaking Trump, man. Yes, in Guatemala especially. Yeah, I heard It's funny you mentioned that. Like I saw a documentary, like I would say like a few months ago. I think it was in Honduras. I'm not sure. Where it was a 14-year-old girl who was skinned alive by like some gang over there. It was unbelievable. Yeah, he wasn't. I don't like getting into politics. I know how sensitive that is. To me, I'm one of those people that I have my issues with um, politicians in general. So, I wouldn't just put things on Trump. There's things that I question about with Biden too. I question everybody. So that's just me. I try not to get to delve too much into the politics. Trump was in the right to be that way for Ricans abandoning their culture. So he was right for Puerto Ricans in Puerto Rico. They abandoned their culture too. I guess I don't understand what you mean by that. Better Trump than, than Biden. Uh-oh. I'm not going to get into that. I'm leaving that one alone. I don't know. I'm one of those people that genuinely believes right wing, left wing, same bird. I'm one of those type of people. So I feel like I don't want to. I don't want to even get into that. I don't like getting into that. But Ski Mask, your comment doesn't make any sense. I guess you're saying now that Puerto Ricans on the island are abandoning their own culture. So then, yeah, Ricans on the island let reggaeton. So then, if that's the case, then why do we have to divide ourselves from Puerto Ricans on the island? Then you make no sense. Michael Ruiz, yes, skinned alive. Yep, 14 years old. Yep. I forgot. I don't know why I don't remember the gang. It's one of those popular gangs. For some reason, I can't think of the name of the gang off the top of my head. But yeah, the gang violence is really, really bad in Latin America. Yeah. All these politicians don't have our interests. Yes, DHH2121. Facts. I agree. I totally agree. I think I hear my husband is with my son right now. I don't know if you guys could hear him. I just heard him making little baby noises in the background. So yeah, Ski Mask. If that's your logic, then why does it matter? New Yorkers mixed with AAs. That's why you're getting absorbed into their Ski Mask. I can't help it. You're starting to crack me up. I think the documentary I saw was about Honduras. Yeah, I think Golden Goddess. I think that's the same thing I saw. Honduras. Yeah, I think so. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, the femicide in Latin America in general is getting really, really bad. It's really sad to see. And like I watch things like that. I try not to just because of it pisses me off mainly. Like I get really upset by that, regardless of how, ghetto and trashy I might be. I watch those things and that does affect me. I try not to let that get to me, but that does it breaks my heart when I see stuff like that because you feel helpless. You feel really helpless. And then sometimes I feel like it's not spoken about enough. We tend to focus on who's associating with white Americans or with Black Americans more than stuff like that, which I find to be more important. Oh, that's sad. I saw that on the video. Yeah, 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 man. It's getting crazy out there. And the funny thing is that you don't hear New Yorkers doing stuff like that. As bad as we are and how we associate with, you don't really hear about us skinning people alive. You know what I'm saying? It's a selective outrage. I gotta laugh. That's why I laugh at these comments, man. People crack me up. Ski Mask, you're funny. You're funny, but you're entertaining though. You're entertaining. But yeah, guys, let's see. I'm at 54. Yeah, I'm like close to an hour. So I'm probably up soon, unless people got any more questions for me. Because you just let it skin. We do? We let them skin us alive? All right. Show me the videos and then I'll believe you. Show me the stories of stuff like that happening on a regular basis to the degree that it's happening in Latin America, then I'll be like, all right, you got me there, ski mask. Michael Lewis. I was talking with one man from El Salvador. He said it's bad now for women. Of course, I don't know how true that is. Any Salvadorians here to confirm that or not? Yeah, I hear it's really bad in all parts of Latin America. Yeah. I can't blame you for wanting to avoid the political discussion. Oh, okay, WT. Okay. I'll definitely check out your message. Thank you, Golden Goddess. Yeah, I probably am going to wrap it up as, I guess I don't know. Except for Ski Mask. Shout out to Ski Mask. Ski Mask was my troll tonight. But yeah, I guess I was expecting there to be more trolls or stuff like that. But this wasn't so bad. This was all right. I'll try to do another one at some point. Maybe I'll have it a little longer. And I definitely want to do better at like going into other people's streams, or at least being in the chat. You know, I definitely got to do better with that. I'll try, guys. But yeah, I think that's it. Unless anybody got any questions. Does anybody have any other questions before I sign out? Because if not, I think I'm gonna just leave it at that. All right. All right. So Caesar Cannon, thank you. I gave it a shot, Caesar. I'll see. Hopefully next time around I'll do a little bit better. I gave it a shot, but yeah. I think with that, I'm going to go for now, guys. Thank you all for stopping by. This was a whole lot more people than I was expecting. I was expecting maybe for like 1 or 2 people to be up in here. So the fact that all of you people, including Ski Mask, showed up, thank you, Ski Mask. I do appreciate it. So anyhow, guys, I hope you all have a good night. Enjoy the rest of your weekend and take it easy. Bye, everybody.